Welcome, Caitriona, and thank you so much for joining us on our YouTube channel, Interviews with Our Night Nannies. So we're going to get started right away, and my first question to you is, who are you? Where did you come from? What is your qualification? I know that's a lot to ask all in one go, but you're not Canadian, are you?
I'm not Canadian. I'm like you, Maria. I am from Ireland. So, so I come from Belfast. It's in the north of Ireland. So, yes, lived there all my life and moved to Canada this year, but crazy during the pandemic. Some people call it crazy. Some people say it was, brave.
So, an adventure.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So moved here with my lovely partner. So we're really enjoying it. Yes, so my qualifications are that when I left school at 18 and I immediately joined my local university in Belfast. The university is called the Queen's University, and studied midwifery. So I trained to be a midwife. The course was around 3 years long, and it was amazing. So I was in and out of the hospital every 6 weeks for 6 weeks, and I got such a vast experience of looking after mums, both in the prenatal, the labour and the postnatal. And then after that, I did work as a midwife for just under a year, and then I moved here. So,
and we're very glad that you did.
Thank you.
If you had advice to give a family who were considering postpartum care, whether it's, with night nanny or a doula or, call it anything that you want, whether it be day support or night support, what advice would you give them?
My advice would be kind of like what I was emphasized to do as a student. Ask every question, ask for every single bit of advice. There's no such thing as a silly question. Just break down the main thing about the New Mummy Company is about breaking down barriers and getting to all mums, dads, parents' worries and concerns. So just ask every question, whether it be in an email, whether it be on Zoom chat. Ask every single question, because there's always somebody on the other end of the email, of the message, that will respond to you unbelievably quickly, which is incredible. And yeah, that's the main advice. That was the advice that I was always given as a student. Just ask every question. And although it is kind of a different scenario, mums and dads and families obviously want to be as comfortable as they can with night nurses and night nannies as we do with them. So, just ask everything.
Great advice. So when you are looking at positions, obviously we chat to you about where the family are located, how many nights they want, or days and hours and duration. And then if you want to go forward, then the family can decide to interview you and meet with you. But what is it that makes you excited about a job? What is it that you're looking for when you're going forward for a role? What is it that sort of seals the deal for you?
I think it all definitely goes off, same for the families, it all goes off first impressions. And, the Zoom interview, although it can feel, for some people, it can feel a little bit impersonal because it's over Zoom, I feel that it is just crucial. And within a first few minutes of that Zoom interview, if you're going to click. And it's all about chemistry. It's kind of like speed dating. It is, you get it in touch with the family, and within the first 2 to 3 minutes, you just find if the conversation's flowing, and you can have, they can ask all the questions that they need to, but it's important that they enjoy the whole experience. So the Zoom interview is definitely something that I kind of really look forward to. And I've had a couple of families that do, before a contract starts, they do a couple of interviews or a couple of Zoom, sessions with me. And I find that really, really valuable, because, the day I get to the house or I get to their, accommodation where they're living, it's just kind of like I've known them for months, and it's just kind of like, let's get the ball rolling, let's get started. Yeah, so really just getting to know the family and just kind of working as a team. The family tell me what they want and what they need, and I kind of, every family will have different needs. Whether it's a first baby, a second baby, a 15th baby, however many babies a family have, their needs are going to be different for every baby. And I love, pinpointing their specific needs and almost making like a care plan that I would in the hospital, and I really get excited about like, oh, this is what they are really going to need help for. And I always really look forward to the first night. I look forward to the entire contract, but the first night, is always very exciting.
It is special, and getting those first set of cuddles in with a baby.
Exactly. Oh yes.
you can't beat it. You really can't. I can't agree with you more. You're making me all sort of broody now. When you mentioned that you sort of feel more like a midwife now than you've ever felt, I guess I sort of want to just pull out just a tiny little bit more. What is it that you enjoy the most in this role?
Honestly, seeing a mum or a dad, or two mums or two dads, or whoever's the guardian of the baby, if it's a night shift, seeing them in the morning, seeing when they get up in the morning, or if I'm leaving on night shift and I ask them, how did you sleep? Or, how was your rest? And they wake up and they say, I feel like, I've had a couple of mums or dads say, I feel like I've slept for a week, and that just, it makes you feel amazing. And you don't, like, I've never had a baby myself, but I know until you've had a baby, you will never understand how torturous sleep deprivation is. And I can't empathize, but I can sympathize with mums and dads. So, when I see them in the morning and they feel rested and they feel ready for their day, I feel like I've done a good job, and that's done by, doing all the things that I would have done as a midwife, the feeding, support, checking on the mum, make sure, and sometimes it's simple things, making sure the mum has food, water, drink, anything she needs. And so definitely seeing the family that morning and knowing that they rested or seeing them at the end of the shift and they feel like their day has improved from I started shift to going off. It's always the end of the shift for me.
I completely agree with you, because you just know that no matter what curveball will inevitably come that day, whether it's a blowout in a diaper, whether it's a toddler tantrum and the baby hasn't napped, like whatever it is, because let's face it, something's going to happen. There's going to be a curveball every day. That parent is more in control of their emotions and their responses, because they're not so sleep deprived that they can't think straight. So
exactly,
every curveball that comes, and they will come, it doesn't hit you with the same impact, and you have the ability to respond with it's okay, or sort of shrug it off your shoulders and sort of like roll with the punches a little bit more. And that for me was really important.
Yeah, and I think at this time, not just this time, I think any time you have a baby it's isolating. You're kind of, whether it, like I said, if it's your first, second, third baby, it's always going to be a daunting, for some, it's going to be, and it's going to be an isolating, vulnerable time. And for people, some people, like myself, they may not have family nearby, they may not have friends nearby, and they may have visitors now and again, but visitors are only there temporarily. So one of the main things that I really enjoy is having a parent or guardian almost vent to you how the day went, kind of like a debriefing before they go off to bed, and you can kind of just see them relaxing and getting it all out. So it's really important, I think, the night nanny service isn't just, you know, purely for feeding or helping the mum and dad sleep. It's emotional support as well. And especially during a pandemic, you know, everybody's isolated, everybody's going through the same thing, but especially mums and dads, I think they feel even more isolated. So
absolutely,
a lot of the mums and dads I've, you know, helped and offered the service to, they're kind of like, you know, it's another adult. It's kind of a little bit of a social aspect, you know, having a human, like another human body to speak to in a safe environment. It like, and for me as well, you know, it's really nice to, like, you know, be able to communicate with other people in a safe way. And you can definitely see, as mums and dads kind of talk you through their day and talk you through their stresses, they definitely are put at ease, which is good.
Wonderful. And I wasn't going to ask you about this, but you've brought up the word safe a couple of times, and so I don't want to finish the conversation without bringing it up.
Yeah.
But in terms of safety for both yourself and for the families that you're working with, how are you looking after them? How are they looking after you? What are you doing? I mean, I know a lot of the protocols are passed down from us to you, but I would like to hear it from you in terms of what are you doing yourself?
Absolutely. Well, that's one of the, at the minute, it's a very popular question when I have an interview with a family, you know, what are you doing to protect yourself and protect your families during COVID? So of course, like outside of work, I'm following all the guidelines. Anytime I leave, you know, my apartment, I'm, you know, wearing a mask everywhere. We're keeping up to date. Just, I get like kind of text alerts or message alerts on my phone, just how things are, because obviously things are constantly changing. You could be doing one thing one week and the next week you could have to do something almost the complete opposite, you know. But one thing I say to my families that on the Zoom interview is, of course, we have to be completely safe and completely cautious of this. But one bit of reassurance I can give them is that I worked in a very high risk hospital during the outbreak of all this. So I was very in the deep of it back home. So when I go into a house, I don't treat it any differently as I did when I was in the hospital. You know, when I go into the house, I take my shoes off, I take my coat off, put them where the family are comfortable me storing them. Right. And one thing I always try to, if the families are able to, is I try to get them to allocate a sink or an area or a bathroom purely for me for that night, so that I can wash it down before and after my shift. And I go in and I put my scrubs on, which are basically boiled every night every morning after my shift, and wash my hands, sanitize my hands, and wear a mask. And I obviously wash my hands before and after any time I'm in contact with any member of the entire family. But one thing that's very important is that me and the families work in partnership. You know, because I'm being safe and because I'm taking all my precautions doesn't mean that they're completely safe. Yeah. So one thing I reiterate to them is that they need to, you know, follow the guidelines, try and keep themselves healthy and limit, you know, traffic coming in and out of their house. But yeah, it's very, very important, and it's very important to be safe. But one thing I also stress to families is incorporate it into your normal life, because I think one thing with this pandemic is going to be mental health and going to be, you know, every single person is going to be stressed. So one thing I stress to the families is that incorporate this into your normal life so that it doesn't take over your life. Absolutely. You know, small, simple things, you know, have hand sanitizer, wash your hands, you know, wear your mask. And yeah, if I keep myself safe, they keep themselves safe. You know, the risk is going to be, you know, very, very limited. But yeah, being safe, but try not to worry too much. Yeah, it's a very hard time.
Just being practical.
Exactly.
Practical and realistic about what we can do.
Yeah. And of course, sorry, obviously monitoring, like if I got any symptoms, you know, if I had any symptoms, letting the company know, letting the family know, and, you know, taking the right measures. But touch wood.
Yes, knock on wood. Thank you so much, Caitriona. I really appreciate you taking the time.
No problem. Thank you so much. Really enjoyed it.